the signal beneath the stone. They drilled into hell the morning the storm cleared. Pyra, 9 was silent for once, the ash-streaked sky bruised purple with the remnants of the night's acid winds. Beneath it, the colony breathed, a desperate, rusting thing clinging to the edge of survival. Chief Engineer Alara Cade squinted into the early haze, dust still clinging to her suit visor. Her voice cracked through comms, brittle from too many long shifts and too little oxygen. Cut power to drill 3. I'm getting anomaly readings. The rig halted mid-bore, the grinding metal teeth still steaming. A deep vibration echoed up through the rock, then silence. Seismic? Asked Boone Terrace, stomping over, his boots kicking up scorched dust. Former Earth forces, now head of security and equally unamused by surprises. No. Hollow. Alara frowned, flicking through her wrist console. A cavern or something artificial. Look, she turned the screen to show him. The sonar scan revealed a perfectly symmetrical void, 200 meters wide, beneath the drill site. Boone's brow furrowed. Nothing natural looks like that. Which was exactly the problem. By the time Dr. Len arrived, vibrating with excitement and half-dressed in his exosuit, the others had already cut open an access tunnel to the chamber. I told you, Len gasped, breathless. This planet was no blank slate. You just had to look deep enough. Alara shot him a look. We're not paid to look, document. We're paid to extract. But it didn't matter. The moment the chamber opened, everything changed. They descended together into the dark, their suits casting narrow cones of light across ancient walls. The structure was black stone, impossibly smooth, pulsing faintly beneath their lights. In the center, embedded like a heart in a rib cage, stood a monolith, 12 feet tall, covered in shifting glyphs that shimmered without light. It hummed. Boone gripped his pulse rifle tighter. This thing's powered. Your saint's been buried for, what, millennia, and it's still running. Len knelt, tracing the edge of a symbol with a gloved finger. Not running, he murmured. Waiting. Alara backed away a step. Her instinct screamed. Pyra, 9 wasn't kind to anything that stayed still too long. Things buried on this world stayed buried for a reason. We seal this back up, she said. Mark it, quarantine it. We call Central. No time, Len snapped. If this is what I think it is, an interstellar beacon, it could rewrite everything we know about first contact. He pulled out a pulse key from his toolkit and slotted it into a recess in the base. The monolith flared to life, casting cold light over the chamber. Then came the signal. They didn't hear it. They felt it. A vibration that thrummed through their suits, rattled bones, tugged at the teeth. A pulse of raw frequency that burst upward into the sky, past rock, storm, and cloud. Boone cursed. What the hell did you just do? On the surface, alarms blared. Radiation spikes. Orbital disturbance. Alara's comms lit up with frantic chatter from the station's observation post. Then silence. Static. The orbital relay gone. Len was laughing. Not mad, but euphoric. It worked. They heard it. Alara shoved him back. Who the hell is they? Before he could answer, Boone's voice cut in, sharp and flat. We got incoming. Multiple objects. High velocity. No IFF tags. Alara's blood ran cold. Not ours. They scrambled back up the tunnel as the first streaks crossed the sky, burning spears punching into the horizon. The ground trembled. Distant booms rolled across the basin. Pyra, 9 had woken up again, but this time, not by its own fury. As Alara reached the surface, she turned just in time to see one of the colony's upper domes erupt in fire. Boone was already barking orders into his comms. Evacuate non-essential sectors. Lock down power cores. Get every drone armed and sky-facing. Len stood near the edge of the crater, staring up at the red-streaked sky like a man seeing God. They answered, he whispered. Alara wanted to scream at him. Shake him. But the fury froze in her chest. Above them, dark shapes moved, sleek and organic, like hornets made of glass and black steel. They descended without sound, without light. Predators. She reached for her comm. To all colonists, this is Chief Cade. We made a mistake. Get underground. Get armed. She looked up as the first of the alien craft began deploying ground units, long limbs unfolding, glistening with blades. "We're not alone," she whispered. "And they're not here to talk." When the sky burns. The first wave hit at dawn. Alara watched from the calm tower ruins, smoke curling from the collapsed scaffolding, her lungs burning with every breath of filtered air. What was left of the communications rig now lay in twisted steel, its signal antenna melted through like wax. Sparks still sputtered from the base, lighting the cracked ground with flickers of false hope. Boone slid into cover beside her, rifle in hand, armor streaked with blood. Not his. "They took out the shuttle," he said quietly. "No way off-world now." Alara didn't answer. Her eyes were locked on the horizon, where black figures moved like shadows cut from the sky. Insectal drones scoured the colony, fast and efficient. Six-legged, razor-limbed, quiet. They didn't roar or scream. They didn't even speak. They harvested. "They're not just killing us," Boone added, jaw tight. "They're collecting." They had come down in silence, not a fleet, a swarm. Over a dozen ships, each shaped like a serrated crescent, bristling with alien mechanisms. Drones poured out like blood from a wound, and the colony's defenses, meant to withstand bandits and storms, not war, folded within minutes. Alara pulled her tablet from her belt and tapped through the last orbital scan they had managed to record. The signal had summoned something vast. More ships hovered beyond the atmosphere, unseen but watching. She forced herself to speak. "How many made it to the bunkers?" Boone hesitated. "Maybe 40. Out of 200. Alara looked away. Her hand shook. Below them, the drones scuttled through the main compound. One of them paused, head cocked, unnaturally listening. It turned and climbed a wall like a spider, disappearing into the upper levels of the biodome. "They're searching," Boone said. "Systematic. They're not just wiping us out, they're learning us." A flash of motion caught Alara's eye. Two colonists broke from a side alley, sprinting toward the maintenance tunnel. Before she could radio them, a drone dropped from the wall, impaling one with a fluid, practiced motion. The second screamed, and the sound cut off mid-note as something invisible slammed into him from above. Boone looked away. "We need a plan." Alara's voice was ice. "We should have listened to instinct. We woke this." Boone didn't argue. He rarely did when the truth was bitter. Later, in the underground utility chamber, the survivors gathered. Faces lit by low lamps, shadows etched deep in hollow eyes. The children didn't cry. They hadn't made a sound in hours. Dr. Lin was there, huddled in the corner. No longer triumphant, just small. "Empty. You summoned them," Alara said, standing before him. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut deeper than a scream. "I didn't know," he whispered. "You guessed. That was enough for you." Boone stepped forward. "Leave it. We're not here to pass judgment." "Not yet." Alara turned away, swallowing the fury that boiled inside. She had seen friends burned alive today, had dragged a half-conscious mechanic through a collapsing corridor only to lose him when a drone sliced through the wall like paper. She took a breath. Focused. "Listen to me," she said louder now. "We can't beat them head-on. We don't have weapons, we don't have a fleet. But we have this planet." The others stared. She pointed to the dusty hollow map projected from the table. "The mineral fields, the lava vents, the spore jungles. They don't know Pyrine, but we do. We've bled for every inch of this rock. Every storm, every quake, it tried to kill us. But we survived. That's what we are. Survivors." Boone nodded slowly. "They're stronger, faster, smarter maybe, but they're not adapted. They don't know where to step and where not to. We do." A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Alara tapped a blinking node on the map. "We lure them here. Slag Canyon. Volcanic tubes below. Unstable ground. One wrong pressure wave, and it collapses." Boone added, "We rig the tremor charges. Set decoys. Make it look like a retreat." Dr. Lin looked up. "You're going to turn the planet itself against them." Alara's eyes burned with something deeper than rage. "No. We're going to show them what it means to hunt humans on a death world." Far above, in the ash-hung sky, the swarm ships pulsed with alien light, watching, calculating. But below, In the stone veins of Pyra 9, something else began to move. Deathworld Doctrine. The first trap worked better than they expected. A patrol of 6 alien drones scuttled into Slag Canyon. Drawn by heat signatures Boone had carefully faked using cracked power cells and human blood from a shattered medkit. Alara watched from the ridge, crouched in a sulfur-choked crevice, hand hovering over the detonator. Her breath rasped in her throat, filtered through 2 layers of jury-rigged rebreather tubing. Her fingers trembled, not from fear but from tension, from purpose. Boone's voice came through the comm, quiet and sharp. They're in position. She didn't hesitate. Thumbed the trigger. The charges ripped through the canyon wall, seismic blasts collapsing unstable obsidian shelves with a thunderous roar. The drones didn't scream. They didn't flail. They simply vanished beneath the jagged stone, crushed in the blink of an eye. Silence returned. Alara slumped back against the rock, heart pounding. How many more traps do we have? Boone's voice was grim. 3 rigged. Maybe enough parts for 2 more. They were running out of everything: oxygen, ammo, patience. But for the first time since the signal, they weren't just surviving. They were fighting. They returned to the hideout under the geothermal station. Steam hissed from ruptured pipes, masking the heat signatures of the humans hidden inside. The children had stopped asking if they were going home. This was home now. A war zone and a graveyard. Alara stood before the survivors and updated them. 6 drones down. Canyon sealed. A ripple of relief. Not joy. Never that. But a sliver of hope. Then Dr. Lin stepped forward. He looked smaller than before. Sunken eyes, patchy beard. Guilt hung from him like a second skin. I've been studying their technology, he said softly, holding up a mangled drone limb. They're networked tightly. Hive mind architecture, routed through localized command units. Boone crossed his arms. So we take out the commanders, and the drones go dark? Lin nodded. Temporarily. Enough to cut through a squad before they reboot. Any way to use against them? Alara asked. Lin hesitated. Maybe. If we hijack a drone, spoof its command signal, we could mislead them, send them into kill zones. Then let's make it happen. It took hours. They had to lure another drone, trap it using a pit of corrosive sludge they'd once used to dissolve mining waste. The drone flailed, its legs snapping like twigs as the acid ate through its armor. Alara and Lin pulled it free, salvaging what they could. They worked in silence, rewiring its neural core. Alara's hands moved with the precision of desperation. Every wire, every bypass a battle against the inevitable. I buried my brother last week, she said quietly, not looking up. Didn't have time to mourn. Just tagged the body and moved on. Lin didn't reply at first. Then, I was wrong. About all of it. I thought the artifact was knowledge. A message. But it wasn't a greeting. It was a dinner bell. She finished connecting the final lead, and the drone sparked to life. Red optics flickering, twitching like a dying insect. Lin gritted his teeth. Let's make it scream lies. That night, under the cover of a volcanic ash storm, they sent the reprogrammed drone back into the field. It pinged a false location, one that led into the spore jungle. The alien response was immediate. A full squad diverted, vanishing beneath the gnarled canopy where the carnivorous flora grew thick and hungry. The jungle tore them apart. It wasn't clean, it wasn't noble, but it was human, brutal, cunning, and driven by the will to survive. Boone returned to the hideout later with a bleeding gash across his chest and a triumphant fire in his eyes. They're rattled, he said. They're adapting, but not fast enough. We're still ahead. Alara looked around at the makeshift war room, at the colonists patching wounds with fabric strips and hope. At Lin asleep at his desk, fingers still curled around his notes. She thought of Earth, distant, untouched. Would they ever know what happened here? She flicked on the old broadcast camera they had dragged from the wreckage. Its lens was cracked, and it only had a few minutes of power left. She stared into it. This is Chief Alara Cade of Pyra 9. We made a mistake, yes. We summoned monsters, but now we trap them. On this world, we're the predators, and this planet is our weapon. She leaned forward. If anyone out there hears this, humans don't go down easy. We turn hell into home, And we make invaders bleed. When predators bleed. They came in force on the final day. Not just drones now, command units. Tall, humanoid, faster, smarter. Alien silhouettes striding across the jagged terrain like gods of war. Their movements fluid, their armor glowing with unreadable glyphs. They didn't skulk or scurry. They hunted. Boone crouched behind a cluster of slag spires, his rifle trained on the lead figure. They know we've been hitting them. They're adapting faster. Alara was beside him, pulse steady despite the adrenaline tearing through her. Let them. We've got one thing they can't copy. Spite. She cracked a grim smile. Home field advantage. They'd spent the last of their drone parts rigging the kill zone. Every unstable ledge, every sulfur vent, every patch of Pyra 9's toxic flora turned into a weapon. They'd lured the enemy here with deliberate, messy trails. A false retreat, an illusion of panic. Now the aliens advanced through what looked like a scattering of survivors. But the survivors were shadows. Boone tapped his comm, Phase 1. Go! Explosions ripped through the canyon's far end, blasting a wall of superheated gas into the alien vanguard. Half the squad went down, burned, ruptured, stumbling into volcanic sinkholes they couldn't detect. Still, the command units pushed forward, unfazed, smarter than drones. Tougher, but not immune. From a camouflage trench, Lin activated the second wave, releasing a cascade of corrosive mist from ruptured fuel cells. The alien armor hissed, blistering. They're hurting, he whispered, awed. One command unit screeched, a high-frequency sound that vibrated in the marrow. A signal, not pain, but rage. Boone grunted. Looks like we finally pissed them off. Alara stood atop the central ridge, exposed. The bait. She held the ancient artifact in her arms. The monolith core Lin had pried free after weeks of study. It pulsed like a dying heart. Still transmitting. Still calling. She raised her voice, amplified through the last functioning broadcast node. You came here for your signal. Here's your answer. Then she threw it. The core tumbled into the chasm below, into the belly of Pyra 9's most unstable magma fissure. The moment it struck, the planet screamed. A shock wave split the ground. Flame geysers erupted skyward. The ridge cracked beneath her feet, and Alara fell backward, caught just in time by Boone's outstretched hand. Above, the alien ships, still circling like vultures, flickered. Their lights dimmed. Confused. Disoriented. Lin's voice cut in over comms. Signals gone. Severed. They lost the hive link. The drones stumbled. The command units froze. For a moment, just a moment, they weren't hunters. They were prey. Now, Boone shouted. The colonists surged from hiding. Crude weapons. Repurposed mining lasers. Thermal charges strapped to carts. They attacked with the fury of extinction. Alara ran alongside them, her side burning from a cracked rib, blood in her mouth. She didn't care. This wasn't about surviving anymore. This was about finishing it. She watched Boone tackle one of the command units head-on, planting a plasma charge to its chest. It tried to slice him in half, but too late. The explosion took them both. She screamed. She couldn't even hear herself over the thunder. But the fight didn't stop. Another drone lunged. Alara ducked, drove her blade, a sharpened mining drill, into its undercarriage. Its spark twitched and died. By dawn, it was over. The canyon was a graveyard. Human and alien bodies scattered across the battlefield. Smoke curled from fractured stone. The monolith was gone, melted into the planet's core. Alara limped through the wreckage, boots crunching over bone and metal. She found Lin near the edge of the crater, staring up at the sky. The ships aren't moving, he said quietly. They're still watching. They're waiting, Alara replied, trying to decide if we're worth the cost. They lost. We bled. She turned to look back at what remained of their colony, burned, buried, broken, but not dead. Behind them, survivors emerged from hiding. Children, miners, engineers, warriors now, hardened by a planet that never wanted them, united by a mistake they turned into a war cry. Lin looked to her. Do you think they'll come again? Alara's voice was steel. Let them. She picked up Boone's battered rifle, still warm from the final shot. They thought we were soft. That because we built domes and tended crops, we didn't know how to fight. She turned toward the horizon, where Pyra, Nine's blood-red sun, rose over ash and fire. They came here thinking we were prey. She paused, breathing in the bitter air, letting the heat of survival wrap around her like armor. But this is our death world, and now it's their tomb.